Listen to the dialogue and questions carefully. Questions 43 to 46. Listen to a talk by a guide on a tour of Washington, D.C. The guide is talking about Ford's Theater.
The next stop on our tour of Washington, D.C. is Ford's Theater, which I'm sure you all recognize as the place where President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, while he was watching a performance of the play Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater. During the performance, Lincoln was shot in the head by assassin John Wilkes Booth. After being shot, the still-living Lincoln was carried across the street to a boarding house, where he died early the next morning. On this tour, you'll have the opportunity to see both Ford's Theater itself and the boarding house across the street from the theater where Lincoln spent his final hours. Let me give you a bit of background information about Ford's Theater before we arrive there. The theater was named Ford's Theater because it was built by a theater producer named John T. Ford. The theater was built by Ford in 1863, just 2 years before Lincoln was assassinated there in 1865. When Ford built the theater, it was during the Civil War. Washington, D.C. was a very busy city during the Civil War, and Ford's Theater was quite popular. After Lincoln's assassination in Ford's Theater, the popularity of the theater diminished considerably. The public stopped attending the theater because of the tragedy that had occurred there. Within a year of the assassination, Ford was forced to sell the theater. The theater was purchased by the government in 1866, and during the century following the assassination, it was allowed to fall into disrepair. About 100 years after the assassination, the government decided to restore Ford's Theater. Today, small productions are staged at the theater, and the presidential box where Lincoln was assassinated has been decorated as it was when Lincoln was there. Okay, from here you can see Ford's Theater on the left and the boarding house where Lincoln died on the right. We'll be stopping here for a while so that you can take a closer look.
Question for number 43. How long did Ford actually own the theater? A. 3 years. B. 1 year. C. 2 years. D. 4 years. Question for number 44. Which of the following did not occur at Ford's Theater? A. John Wilkes Booth committed an assassination. B. Our American Cousin was performed. C. Lincoln attended a performance. D. Lincoln died. Question for number 45. What is true about Ford's Theater today? A. It has been moved across the street. B. It is in a deteriorated state. C. It is owned by the Ford family. D. Performances are held there. Question for number 46. What happened to Ford's Theater in the 100 years after Lincoln's assassination? A. It became a museum. B. It was used as a boarding house. C. Its condition deteriorated. D. It was the setting for performances.